Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, an actual play podcast featuring a rowdy group of best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I'm your host and your GM, Mitch Broesder. You can find me on Twitter at MagnesiumB, and you can find the show over on Twitter at Standard Risky. With me today, I've got Pete Loftus.
I'm Pete, as always. I'm on Twitter at Chip Enjoyer.
We've also got Malcolm Hall here today.
Hello. You can follow me on Instagram. It's just Malcolm Hall. Also, me and Pete put together a playlist for songs that we feel complement this particular campaign. We'll post that to the Discord at some point.
Yeah, you can find that Discord in our show notes. And we also have young Timothy Mans here.
Hey guys, great to be back again. Just look out for this. I'm trying out a new catchphrase. It's Bazinga. So let's hope that really catches on and people like that.
Tim, I got some bad news for you.
No.
You can't bazinga like that.
Oh, God damn it. Well, come back next week to see what I settle on then.
And of course, today we are continuing our ongoing campaign of Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey. We are nearing the very end of our ongoing mission, which sees the squad infiltrating the Grenfield base known as Installation Indigo to retrieve the biometric data of the renegade scientist Harlow Shellspade. Last we left off, the squad had accomplished their objectives, more or less. You guys had cleared out level 2 of Installation Indigo of its various guards, and you had retrieved Harlow Shellspade from where he was being held. You'd copied his biometric data with the scanner given to you by the attendant of the apparatus, Selma Moreau, and you had pulled him out of there. And along the way, you had picked up a turncoat member of the marked band, a young Luctorian named Bitter, who kind of took you up on your casual offer to get out with and escape the marked band. Although he did let you know that it would require disabling the device implanted on his chest meant to sort of stop him from going rogue, a device shared by all members of the marked band. And so, yeah, with your objectives, if not fully completed, within sight of completion, the three of you had convened out on level 2 of Installation Indigo. Desmond, you made the decision to head up on your own, on foot, through the tunnels towards level 1 of Installation Indigo, the floor above you, where you know for a fact Butte, the brute Halloran, one of the former members of the Belfry Boys, the gang that screwed you over and sent you upriver to prison. He's up there. So yeah, that's where we left off. Yeah, Des, you're on your way through the tunnels, headed up. Mm-hmm. Carta and Rhodes, you've been left on level 2 with the scientist Harlow Shellspade and this marked band member named Bitter. Any questions? Anything anyone wants to say before we kind of dive into the explosive epilogue to today's mission?
No, I mean, I think where we parted, we kind of left with Rhodes being uncomfortable watching Des kind of skulk off here, but kind of caught between two things. I think for the moment, we're sort of just making our way back down with the two of these guys. So maybe we start with Dez's foray into the unknown.
Yeah. Let's follow Des for a minute, and then we can kind of turn back to what's going on level 2 and the escape of Carta and Rhodes. So Des, you are making your way on foot through the tunnels, right? To kind of keep the maximum element of surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you head into these mining tunnels. I think quite a few of the tunnels have been blocked off, right? Partially just to ensure that people don't get lost going between these floors. And so, you can see these chambers that have been closed off, and It's a tunnel like big enough for maybe 2 or 3 men to walk along side by side. You've got a fair bit of room over your head. It's not like you're cramped in here, but it's definitely a much more confined space than anywhere else you've been so far during the mission. I don't think that there's like a lot of lighting in this tunnel. Besides, I think this kind of like dim strip of like emergency LEDs running along the base of the walls on either side of the tunnel. And I think it probably takes a minute or two of just going, on foot, moving up through this tunnel. And I think as you get into the tunnel, it's just a heavy silence. There's no other sound here. You're insulated by the mountain. There's nothing but the distant hum of the machinery spread throughout this mine and the rustle of your own gear as you head up there. And like I said, Butte's above you. He doesn't know you're here, but you know he is. I guess I'm just kind of curious, like what's going on in Desmond's mind right now as he's, you've got that, what do we say, a shotgun with this like fitted silencer, right? Kind of stalking through the tunnel headed up.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the shotgun uses a suppressor.
Apologies.
Yeah,
Thank you.
night vision goggles on.
Oh yeah, I forgot you had those as well.
Skulking around, knees weak, arms are heavy. Heart,
some sort of Lectorian gravy.
Heart's beating. I'm trying to really, just control my breathing. Remembering these moments past, I've been in situations like this. Scared a little bit. I could possibly die,
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's Des is alone with just his thoughts for like a couple of minutes, just
in the dark. Just the sound of like dripping water.
Right. Just footsteps.
This very distant kind of background hum of like the fundamental generators in the building.
My heart beating really hard.
Oh yeah,
like hearing that in my ears.
You said you've been in this kind of thing before?
Well, yeah, I mean, burglaries.
Oh, like mining?
Burglaries,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And so yeah, you're alone in this, this ocean of noise inside your own head for a while. And then there's a light ahead. There's a slight slant this entire time. You're always slightly ascending. And there's like some curves to the tunnels as well. I think it's probably a little disorienting. But then, yeah, you notice a pale light up ahead and kind of a change in the acoustics, right? And you're heading towards the entrance of another chamber. And you come to the edge of this tunnel, right? And ahead of you is another one of these large chambers. I think, immediately you can see it's a little smaller than the level below. But as you kind of come to the edge of the tunnel, I think you can see already, like right off to your right, there are 2 more kind of connected chambers, right? This one has like a few more different like kind of offshoots and connections to it. That's like what's off to your right as you're coming to the entrance of this tunnel. Across the room from you, I think you can see, the railings and the infrastructure for the freight elevator platform. And above that, going further up into the mountain, you can see the shaft continuing above to the whatever the peak hangar is in this structure. And then, yeah, to the west of you, you see 3 things. I'll start furthest away from you. You can see a large bored tunnel terminating in a heavy set of bulkhead doors. And that is the entrance to the mine, right? It is the main in and out. And I think it's safe to imagine on the other side, there's probably the same kind of holographic camouflage hiding it that hid your entrance in from below. And then a little closer to you, but still further off, there's another one of these prefabricated white modules, right? One of these structures. I think similar in size to the rec hall from downstairs. And I think it with a placard mounted over its entryway that says administration. And then closest to you, Des, is another structure. It's not one of these prefabs. It's smaller. I think its walls look like reinforced and bolted steel. There are only a few windows on it, this small circular structure. And I think that they are like small, tiny, reinforced with some kind of internal mesh. And on one side, maybe the closer side to you, there's this kind of extension jutting out from this little structure that's about, I'd say about half the height of the building itself, maybe like 6 or 7 feet across on either side. with these like two armored roll down doors that are facing away from the building, facing towards where you're at. And you can see from this tunnel you come in, the door at the front of this kind of like reinforced structure, it bears the same kind of tap lock that you've been seeing previously on some of these security doors on the elevator infrastructure. It matches the stolen key pass that you took from Egg, the marked band member that you struck down at the beginning of this mission. And above this door on this reinforced structure is another placard that just says security. And I think, it doesn't take a genius to figure out Butte's been calling the shots all day about the security in the installation, giving orders to the other members of the Bark Band. I think maybe 20, 30 yards away from you, somewhere inside that building, is Butte Halloran. So Des, what do you do?
How big is the like sort of main cavern I'm in right now? Is it like really big, or is it like are these sort of modules kind of dwarfed inside of it, or they kind of fit snugly in there?
They're fairly dwarfed. I think that there's a lot of open space here, right? And in the same way that I said like downstairs, right, there are like machines, there are storage crates around here, and there are also, like I said, these two other kind of chambers connecting on the eastern side of this room. And I think there's signage here for all of this stuff, right? One of these chambers, furthest away from you, says like vehicle hangar over it. And then the other one further away, I think, is like a material storage and equipment bay.
I think I'm going to turn on my fine optical camo.
Ooh, baby.
So I forget where we said that existed on my body, but
I think it was kind of like a liquid that came out of like a device, right?
Like, where's the device? I think it's on my belt. Sort of press that, and then it envelops my body. I'm invisible.
Invisible from the waist everywhere.
And I'm going to walk across the room towards the security.
You do, right? There's no one walking around up here right now, I don't think. At least not in this main room. And so, especially with this fine optical camo on, right? You are moving silent and deadly across this space, uninterrupted. I think, you get to the door. It stands in front of you. There's no sound coming from inside, but I think you can tell you wouldn't be able to hear sound coming from inside, right? Like it's got this kind of like airlock style door, the same as like the research building downstairs did.
I have the key pass probably, right?
Yeah, you have the key pass, and it looks like the exact same kind of like security pad that you've been using before.
All right, I open the door.
You hit the key pass against the door. There's like like a beep, and then the kind of hiss as like the pressurized seal breaks, and the two slats of the door slide the other direction, and you are greeted with the sight ahead of you, which is there's almost like a little like foyer in this small structure, right? Just a little entryway. I imagine there are like boots right on the ground near the door, just kind of like shed gear, maybe like raincoats hanging somewhere. And there's a door on your left, a door on your right, and then there is a like small set of metal stairs leading up to the main room, which occupies like most of this building and is directly in front of you. And what you can see from here, right, I imagine like at the far end of this room that you're looking at, there is kind of a bank of CRT monitors. Below that, there is this kind of giant like console panel, right? I imagine just like studded with switches and buttons, different glowing lights. Probably, I think, like a big mounted like microphone, right, with like a talk button next to it. And then kind of dwarfing that, currently next to it, thumb pressed down, I think, on this comms button, is the massive shape of a large Chiropteran man. He's wearing, I imagine like fatigues, combat boots, and just like a big armored vest up top. You recognize the silhouette immediately. You spent years with him, and even though it's been close to a decade, you can't forget it, right? It's Butte the Brute Halloran. He is standing at the opposite side of the room to you, and he is talking into the microphone. All right there, Dancer. Why don't we bring it on in? Something's funky with the comms here. If you're not getting anything out there, I'd rather have you back in here with the rest of us. And I think sitting at a chair, like in front of this computer panel, kind of a few feet to the right of Butte, there is a like middle-aged Luctorian woman. I think she's wearing probably some kind of like a lab coat. She's got like dark hair pulled back in a tight bun, I think glasses. And I think she's the first one to look in the direction of the door opening. A kind of quizzical look coming across her face. I think that, this is almost certainly, this is Rin Hynot, the administrator of the facility. And I think, you see Butte's pointed ears twitch, as the door opens. And I think you take that first step forward. And he starts to turn around. And I think he says, slug.
Oh, I got a slug for you, bud.
But you've got that moment, Des.
Mhm.
You're there in the doorway. He's ahead of you. You're not detected yet. You're still cloaked.
About how far away is he?
Maybe like 15, 20 feet away from you from your entrance across the room. And it's maybe actually before you tell me what you're gonna do, let's and before we get caught up in the drama of it, let's take 1 second. I just want to talk about how this is gonna work. Because we are encountering an object of your drive, and this is a thing we have not done at all in Beam Saber. But it is like one of the cool big core mechanics of the game. And so I just want to take a second to talk about how we're going to handle it before we go forward. Basically, in Beam Saber, like we've said before, your character has a drive, and the drive is like the thing that they are pursuing most in this world. It is the thing they are dedicated to doing. And for Desmond, that is getting revenge on the Belfry boys, right?
Yeah.
But to accomplish your drive, it takes more than just finding them and killing them. That's what you're trying to do, but mechanically, it means that you have to spend the drive clocks that you have filled up over the course of this game by working on this project, by working towards this drive. And we recently kind of switched over. We've been using an alternative rule in Beam Saber that gives us like a slightly faster advancement of our drive clocks, just because of the way we're playing the game and for the show. I think it'll let us get to the narrative meat of some of this stuff faster. But to deal with Butte, to deal with like an opponent who is a part of your drive, you need to spend drive clocks. And a player needs to spend 2 drive clocks to change the life circumstances of one person. This is the only way to permanently defeat a rival. Desmond has 2 full drive clocks. You can spend those drive clocks to change the life circumstances of Butte Halloran. And maybe the change you're looking for is that he's dead, right? That's in your court. But I do think because Butte is such a singular figure, and because Des doesn't have like a proper capital R rival right now, I think in this moment I kind of want to treat Butte somewhat like a rival. And so I'm going to create a 6-segment clock for us that is going to be Butte the Brute Halloran. And this clock basically represents how much fight Butte has left in him. And this clock needs to be filled before you can then spend your 2 drive clocks to change his life circumstances in whatever direction you end up deciding you want to change them. So that is a 6-segment clock, starting with 0 ticks, of course. Any questions there? Anything you want to talk about before we get into like what your next move is?
No, let's get it going. Let's start the show.
So yeah, he's there. Like I said, ear twitch, head starting to turn. Like I said, asking kind of questioningly, just slug.
I shoot at him. I'm blasting.
Just coming in blasting.
So I start blasting. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about what this roll is. So out the gate, what are you using here? What action do you think?
That would be struggle.
Struggle. Yeah, when you struggle, you employ lethal or less than lethal violence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be that or prowl. I think prowl is like the kind of the ambush roll, but if you have 2 in both, it's not a. I guess this is struggle, right? Because you're just like opening fire, right? You're not even really being that sneaky, right? I guess that's kind of how we're characterizing this. This is a fight. Like you're coming in just opening fire on him. I like that. I do think, once more, this is probably going to activate your ambush move that you took. Which says when you attack from hiding or spring a trap, you get +1d. So you'll be starting with 3 dice. And I think for this first roll, you've been working at this. You guys managed to not set off the alarms. The alarm clock is currently at 5 out of 6, right? I think that in this first moment of the fight, I think Desmond is in a controlled position. I think this is probably great effect, right? You're coming from hiding, you're cloaked, he's not expecting you. You are now a tier 1 squad, which is the same as the marked band, which puts you guys both kind of in the same range. Fine optical camo for increased effect. Yeah, I think this is a controlled, great position to start this thing off in. So you're rolling 3d6 to start.
I'm not gonna add any more. I'm just gonna roll with that for now, and then I'll use an E-stress if I have to later.
You would take a scar if you pushed yourself on this roll. So yeah.
All right. You get a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
A 2, a 2, and a 5. Oh, it's so tense. I love it.
Listeners, the atmosphere is electric.
What does this look like here? So on a 4 to 5 on a control, the pilot hesitates. They can withdraw and try a different approach, or else succeed with a controlled consequence. Do you want to just succeed here, or do you with a consequence, or do you have an idea for how you might withdraw and try a different approach?
No, I'm just going to succeed with a consequence.
I think that this is reduced effect. So instead of great effect, this is going to be standard effect. I am going to tick 2 segments on Butte's clock to represent your progress on here. And maybe this is a reduced effect because you have the shotgun. And like I said, it is like 15, 20 feet. It's far enough that, I think you open fire and it is a roar, right? Even with the silencer, like in the small compressed room, the suppressor, not the silencer, sorry, Pete. Even with the suppressor, right? Like it's a loud noise in the small tin can that you two are in. And so there's a moment of just like confusion. And so I think that you open fire and the first shot hits Butte square in the back. Like right in the armored vest that he is wearing, though. And I think it knocks him forward bodily into the control panel, sends like that microphone like bent and sprawling off to the side. And there's a shriek from Rin Highnot as she, this like burst of kind of like fire and noise just starts appearing from the doorway. And I think she's like kind of off her chair, scrambling towards the side of the room, trying to get out of the way of whatever's happening. And then I think it's, another shot from Des, but Butte is moving this time, right? And it clips Butte, right? I think you see, like a blast of like pellets hitting his arm, but it's a graze. And he's moving, throwing a chair across the room, like not sure what he's throwing it at. It crashes against one of the steel walls. And then he is drawing from his belt, this enormous revolver, just this huge hand cannon. And without knowing who, exactly who's firing at him or where, but like, the door open, there's gunshots coming. I think he starts opening fire with this thing. And, the wall next to Desmond explodes in like a little spray of shrapnel. And this time the noise is deafening, right? It's like a thunderclap going off in the room, like boom, 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 as he's firing, somewhat wildly at the direction of the door. But each one of these slugs just, punching a hole through this like reinforced steel wall. And so Butte is there. He's opened fire at you, but you still have this kind of moment of advantage, of surprise. He doesn't know. I guess he has not spotted you yet, right? That's not part of the consequence.
Mm-hmm.
How does the camo work? Like, are you still?
I think that I think the camo works in that if you were really, I guess, like trying to find me or stared at me for a long time, you could probably see me. Mm-hmm. But in a quick glance, especially if you had like tunnel vision and you were frenzied, you probably would not see me.
And like I said, probably also just like a roar here, right? Of like, just something of like, who's there? Placing these shots in the doorway. They've not struck yet, but you're in now in kind of a vulnerable position a little bit because you're in this kind of like shooting tunnel before the room opens up, right? There's this little bit of hall that you have to go down to get into the main room. And he's kind of trying to like, I think, get behind there. There are a few like desks and chairs and tables in here. I think he's trying to kind of get his body with some cover in between it while taking these pot shots with this just, I think we've made this pull before, but like the Samaritan hand cannon from Hellboy, that's right, definitely like a big touchstone for me here.
I think I'm gonna say something back. I'm gonna say like, I think you know who it is.
And there's like a pause in his firing. Des, that you, little man? And he's like kind of like eyes darting across the room a little bit, kind of trying to like locate, pinpoint you where you are by your voice.
I don't say anything else. I'm gonna, I don't know. Should I try shooting at him again?
I mean, if you're invisible,
yeah, I'm gonna shoot at him again while I still have some sort of advantage of him not knowing exactly where I am.
What I will say is that I think that this is still going to move into a risky situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I will keep you with the great effect for the moment because you are cloaked. If this is like a struggle roll, is this? Are you moving in as you're?
Yeah,
firing at him,
I'm
or
gonna
you
try and half the distance between us.
Yeah.
Is this still ambush?
I don't think this is
Yeah.
ambush anymore,
Okay.
right? Like I think that first strike was the ambush. I think now this is a struggle.
Okay.
Right? He knows there's something trying to kill him.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna rack another round and let it rip with the 2d6 struggle.
Cool. Again, you're not pushing yourself. I could give you a collateral die here. It's the level 1 harm, like shrapnel struck, right? It's like you've gotten hit by just like spray from like the walls getting torn apart by his revolver. Which could, it won't affect this roll, but like future physical rolls.
Yeah.
So it'll give you the dice on this one, but it might hinder you going. It'll give you less effect.
I'm still not in. I'm not in a desperate position.
You're in a risky position.
I'm gonna save that for when I'm really desperate. So I'm just gonna roll 2d6. And a 4.
As a 4. So that is still a success. A 4 is a success. And on a risky, pilot does it, but there's a risky consequence on a 4 to 5.
I feel like this is some of the fastest action we've had.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, this is it, right? Mm-hmm. You're in there. You're doing the thing.
What if I have an idea?
I'm down to hear your idea.
Let's see. Just as a risky consequence, I'm like waiting for the moment to like cut into the throat mic to ask what's going on. I don't know if that's like a thing Butte picks up on or hears or something.
I don't think anyone can hear the receiver.
He does have really big ears.
He does have large ears. You know what? I think for a risky consequence here, I think I'm going to reduce the effect again here. I think Butte is moving. He's taking cover. You're having trouble getting like a clean shot on him. So this will be a standard effect instead of a great effect to put you at 4 out of 6 segments instead of 5 out of 6. Although I just accidentally ticked the alarm clock to 6 of 6. I think that's also true, right? And in fact, that's what the other kind of consequence here is. Behind you, you hear this woman, Rin Hynot, scream something like, like system activate preservation protocol. And suddenly the room, already chaotic, is filled with these like flashing red lights and like a siren, starts to go, an alarm siren starts to go off in the room and in the rest of the building. But I think perhaps it's like something about like the strobing of the light starts fucking with your fine optical camo. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not able to adapt quickly enough. So now you're kind of this like muddled shape that's like a half second behind what the strobing is doing. So like as the room fills with red, you're like not, and then as like the light goes off, you're still like flashing red, which is going to give a Butte kind of like an eye on you now. He can see where in the room that you are. And there's I think but right, you get a shot in. And it tears apart the front of this vest, right? The front of that vest explodes in like a spray rather of like ceramic plating and like torn fabric and Kevlar underneath. And I think at this point, Butte, like rips that off and hurls it to the side. And he, I think stands up behind the desk that he's going to kind of half cowering behind and like unleashes another like volley of shots where Des is standing. Come on, little man. Why don't we talk about this a little bit? I know we broke bad before, but it doesn't have to be like this just yet, does it?
I think I'll have my little friend do my talking for me, and I shoot it again, I guess.
I think before we get to like your next action roll, I kind of want to cut the camera here and get a sense of like what's going on downstairs. And let's I think we're probably rewinding in time a little bit. The alarms haven't started going off quite yet, but I think Des has stalked off upstairs. There's this kind of long moment of silence. Like I just imagine it's kind of like a moment of awkward silence where it's like Carta, Rhodes, Bitter, and Harlow all kind of standing, and after Des has stormed off. And I think it's Harlow who probably speaks first, who says he looks at you, Rhodes, and then at Carta, and then like up right to the ceiling. And he says, "So your little friend's going to fight the big one? I don't really favor his odds. I've seen him in action."
Who said anything about fighting? If I know Des, I think he's going to kill the big guy. And if you don't keep walking with that mouth shut, who knows what might happen to you.
Let him be, Carta.
And then I think from the other side, this young marked band member, Bitter. Well, I gotta say, the Brute is a pretty nasty scrapper, but we're looking to get out of here. We're probably going to want to head down first, level 3. That's our evacuation zone. There's vehicles down there. If we take one of the shot vehicles, it won't set off any of the mines as we come on in, assuming y'all didn't already got rid of those. I don't really know how you got in here to begin with. Maybe you already know what I'm talking about.
How many people patrol the perimeter?
Well, we got 2 armors upstairs. You got 2 hatchets. Butte's got his own vehicle, but he'll be in the operations. And then not a patrol, but up top, we got Zed stationed in an arbalest, long range weapon. He's not gonna shoot at nothing bearing our symbol if we're driving out of here.
What is your story, Bitters? How did you get roped into this?
Same as about anybody. You get caught on the wrong side of the law. They throw you in a mine. And someday somebody comes knocking at your cell door, says, I can turn 10 years in 10 months. You do a little work for me.
And what kind of work is that?
He looks around. Mostly just shooting the shit in this mine so far, if I'm being honest with you. A little bit of killing, but I'm a deft hand with a rifle when you give me one. And I've done worse for less.
Good answer. And Shellspade, since you're a combat specialist now.
Yeah.
I think at that moment we hear the first, it echoes downwards, like the roar, the first shot of Butte's revolver from upstairs. One punctuated, another, a third, and then it goes quiet for a moment.
Yeah, I think like Rhodes, kind of head snaps back in that direction. I think probably continuing to listen, right? Like counting off shots,
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, we know those aren't Dez's guns, so.
And then, I think as I don't know, there's like a momentary pause, right? Like the round stopped going off for a second, and then I think that's when, I don't know if this is before the alarm kind of moves up to the next level, but we need to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't disable the freight elevator, so that's still here, right?
Yeah, there's a freight and a personnel elevator, which is probably
faster.
Sure, faster.
Probably a little quicker, I imagine, moving than the freight elevator. I think Bitter would be quick enough to point that out as you're walking towards the elevators.
I am going to call we're on level 1 right now. So
you're on level 2.
2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just start calling the personnel lift here.
Yeah, there's like a chunk and machinery as the personnel elevator starts to rise. And it's coming up from the floor below you. You saw it when you got here. And, I think it's got kind of an enclosed mesh gate, right? And I think the elevator platform kind of rises up, locks into its cradle.
Can we see into it, or is it like a...
You can see into it.
So we're not going to be surprised by anyone
no.
being behind an open door or something. Okay.
It comes up, right, and there's that moment of held breath. And then it rises high enough you can see inside. It's empty. The doors open. And I think it's right at the moment as these elevator doors open, right? The alarm starts blaring.
Yeah. And this personnel lift, is this more like a normal elevator versus the freight elevator, or is this still kind of like in an open shaft?
This is more like a normal elevator, but I imagine it's like a mesh cage instead of solid walls, right? You can kind of see.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I guess kind of Carter is backing in, pulling Shellspade in front of him. Not using him as a human shield, but I want to be able to see what's coming, and I don't want anything in my back kind of way.
I think Shellspade's kind of got this kind of resigned, he's not fighting you.
Right.
But he also is not he's not panicking, right? In the way that the Shellspade you saw, a few months ago was freaked out when things went bad in the freight yard.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different kind of guy that you're dealing with now. And so he kind of resignedly, shuffles into the cart in the elevator car. But yeah, the alarms start going off.
So I think as that alarm is going off, they're loading in. I think that's when I would at least try it, right? Des, And maybe no reply, right? Like, which is, bead of sweat. I think I'm imagining this personnel lift here being like some of those elevators that have like doors on both sides, right? And what I was thinking is like, is this whatever we hammer, level 3, and as this thing starts rumbling down, I want to hit the like stop button in the lift, right? And
yeah, right. Midway between floors, it kind of halts.
I'm gonna grab Shell Spade kind of by the collar, right, and open this back door to the shaft that like just kind of opens to nothing right now.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of holding him, not pushing him out, but like holding him next to this chasm, right? Like over the rest of the shaft. Now would be the right time to explain some of your work.
And I think Shell Spade, the light kind of does come back in his eyes a little bit, right? He's pretty burnt out, but maybe he still wants to live a little bit. And there's arms freewheeling a little bit, the alarm blaring, and he's, I'm not really sure this is the time for it.
I think it is the time. What's turning on right now?
Oh yeah, he looks at he's like looking at the lights. If I had to guess, probably. Your friends trip the alarms. They know what's going on. Preservation protocol. This is a secret facility.
What is it? What is that?
Wipe all the hard drives. Remove all evidence of the project here.
Not all of it. Gun raised being like,
oh yeah,
we want you to come out of here. So not all of it is lost. But if you can tell us anything we need to know about getting out of here without anyone else upstairs finding out or anyone else outside finding us, it would behoove you to do so.
Looks at you two and his eyes flash to bitter here. I think I've been on house arrest. I think you'd be better asking the man with the badge. I think a bit bitter later looks at you two and is, oh, well, fellow's right. We're, instructions are this site gets compromised beyond security's ability to contain it. We're supposed to shut the thing down. Place is rigged with explosives. Bring it down on top of itself. One last data pulse. You're either out through the bottom or up through the top. There's a lift. There's a bird up top in the hangar peak, but I'm not too excited about racing towards it at the moment.
I think Rhodes would like drop him back a little bit further, right? Like, kind of continuing on. Not out. But he's like, what is the cradle? Don't play cute. I know you know.
Oh, yeah. Shell Spade laughs. Of course, it's the most important scientific discovery in the Commonwealth in the last 100 years.
Another inch.
What does he say? He's like also kind of like thinking like, what do I say? Try. You can see him like turning through his head is like, how do I explain it as simply as I can to this man I don't think is very smart, but I do think is going to hurt me.
Explain like I'm 5. Punk.
Explain like I'm 205.
English, please. All right. It's like what does he say? Okay, sorry. He says they built something here. The planet. It's a machine, and we're trying to figure out how to turn it on.
Oh fuck.
Right, I like the moment that is that long, right? The quiet settles over the elevator.
Yeah, processing for a second. And I think Rhodes would kind of pivot, right? Like quickly, I think just kind of throwing him back into the elevator.
Does this machine want to be turned on? Or are we forcing it?
I don't know. I don't even know if it's finished. What do you think happened here? This planet wasn't always a desert.
The philosophy can wait. I think like would kind of just like punch that start button again as it like, thunks like back into motion.
Elevator music comes back on.
Yeah.
The elevator starts to move down again.
Carta, I can't leave him up there. Can you get him to the Mercuria? These two?
I can get him there. But can I get that out?
Can you get to the peak? Bitter said there's vehicles.
I think it'd be better. I think one of us can get to the peak better than all three of us. I'll take them. If that's what you want to do, you get Des up there, get him out. I'll deal with the Mercury if I can. If not, we'll take one of these cars out. The Mercury can withstand some of this.
You can do it. I trust you. I'll be back. And I think like before that second set of doors close, I'm gonna like
You're going back into the shaft.
I'm gonna yeah. I'm going into this kind of like shaft here. I have like climbing gear.
Well, we established that your climbing gear is still in there leading up to level 2 at least.
Okay.
Past that, it's however you want to try and get up.
Yeah, I mean, I think like if this is a cable, like in a normal elevator, in climbing gear is like an ascender, and I think this is just like a motorized like grip thing, right? Like in the climbing gear little like satchel, and I'm gonna like clip it on and just like whack it on and hang on for dear life here as I assume kind of like rips up this cable up to the top.
So you're ascending the cable, and Carter, you're taking the other two in the elevator down to the lowest level where you came in from. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good moment to cut back, right? To Des, right? You've nailed this blow, and Butte's thrown off the vest, right? I think right now he's crouching, he's moving amongst like the tables and chairs in here again, kind of trying to take cover. And I think as you're about to move in to try and find like another shot, right? I think he lets out like a low whistle, right? Like you're whistling for a dog.
Oh God.
And there's like a long pause. I mentioned there were 2 doors as you kind of came into here, right? In the entranceway. I think you can see actually, the one thing draws your eye in that direction is Rin Highnot is scrambling out of the room. She's just making a run for the door. And as she's like sprinting that way, I think your eyes catch on the 2 signs hanging above the doors in this foyer, this entryway, right? There is one that says Armory, right? And then the other one, whatever it originally said, it's got like a big sheet of like paper plastered over it, and in like a marker scrawled, it says Kennel.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh
Fuck.
dog. Oh dog.
Maybe more than one.
There's a pause after this whistle, right? And then suddenly there is a like enormous thud against that door that says Kennel, and the metal of the door like bulges outwards.
Oh God.
And then I think from behind these tables, I think you get again Butte. Now listen, little man. Look, I reckon you're here. Your boy's probably got the nerd downstairs, am I right? Fair play, you win. I don't have a dog in this fight. Besides this one here, and another thud against the door. And this time you see a sharp, curved metal hook puncture through the top of the door. Like 3 or 4 inches long, curved and coming through. And it starts to tear, and like that door starts to like tear like ribbons at the top there. I feel bad, little man. I wish things hadn't broken out the way they did, but they broke that way and we're living our lives. No reason we couldn't both keep living our lives, moving different directions. You take your prize, I'll walk away with whatever I got left.
I get on the throat mic and I say, Rhodes, I changed my mind. I need some help.
Hands are full.
No heart emoji.
There's a lot going on, a lot more going on up here than I thought. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm kind of at capacity right now. Is there someone else you can reach out to?
I say to Brute, I think only one of us is leaving this room. And if it's not tonight, it'll be some other night. Aren't you tired of this? Don't you just want to move on?
Butte stands up, and you can see, same as Bitter has, right? He's got this big, like, painful, right? Like there's like scar tissue around it. This bulky implant sitting on his chest. Over, Butte's got the bell symbol of the Belfry Boys tattooed on his chest, but it's been broken. It's marred, interrupted now, half covered by this like implant on his chest, right? He's standing up. He's kind of revealed himself. There's another like shake against the door as this dog hits it. And this time you see like a metallic limb, a handful of claws tearing at the metal. But it's like Butte doesn't hear it. It's who we were, Des. Bunch of scoundrels. What do you expect? Of course I'm tired. You think I want to be doing this? Hell, Salvation said it was going to be an end to that life. I figured you'd spend a few years in the can, get out kind of guy you were. I didn't think I'd end up in there myself. Life comes at you, and I'm sorry, but I want to keep on living. Another shutter, and this door now like bursts forward off of it's like remaining hold on the wall around it. And the thing that kind of creeps forward bears some vague resemblance to a dog, for sure. If a dog was close to the size of a hyena and was made out of like chrome and tubing, it's got like 3 optical sensors, like kind of a line at the front of its neck. These like kind of 3 camera shapes that form a head. And it pads forward on these like pistoned arms, each of which the hands end in these like long curved like kind of knives. And the dog in this case is, a kind of scouting combat drone. I don't know if you've ever seen this kind of thing before. You're probably not unfamiliar with the idea of them, though. And so I think that's where you're at now, is this thing has kind of emerged, this camera face is like scanning the room, and it's there in the entranceway that you came through. And Butte is standing there. He's got the revolver in his hand, and I think it's kind of like almost kind of loosely aimed in front of him right now, right? Like he's, you can hear him talking through it. He's hoping maybe there's a chance he can get Des to rethink this. But yeah, it's your move here, Desmond. You're like I said, I think your cloaking thing is like on, but it's kind of fritzing because of the alarm lights. What does Desmond do here? What does he say?
I guess I'm just gonna try shooting at him one more time. You take him out, and I can deal with the dog in a little bit. Hopefully, this clears up the last two segments of the clock if I get a really good roll. Yeah, you turn, you open fire on Butte.
Yep. I love that.
Yeah, I think this is definitely probably struggle is what this sounds like, right? This is combat. I think this is risky standard.
Can I change it to a desperate position for a greater consequence?
Yeah, how do you make it more desperate? What's the thing that Des does here to make it more desperate?
Maybe I to get a better angle, I sort of jump up on the dash of the security console.
Oh, you just like make yourself like you're like right there.
Put myself out there, pop out so I get a cleaner shot at him.
Yeah, I'll take that. That puts you on the table for a desperate consequence.
And also, because I have Daredevil, I get plus 1.
Yeah, when you roll a desperate action, you get +1 dice to your roll, and if you also take -1 dice to any resistance rolls. In that case, this is going to be
3d6.
3d6, a desperate standard, and I think you mark an XP in prowess here for rolling a desperate action.
All right. Nice knowing you, boys.
Let her rip.
5 again. Ooh.
Ooh.
It's a desperate 5, right?
That's a desperate 5. You got like a one-liner here.
Damn, I didn't think about this.
No worries. I don't think you're going to kill Butte with this. I think killing Butte or doing whatever you do to him is going to be spending the drive clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I do think you get up, right? And Butte has you in his sights, right? And then he hesitates. He doesn't pull the trigger. And it gives you the opportunity to do it, right?
You son of a bitch.
You get the shot. He goes down. I think you catch him in like the side, a spray of like blood and fur. He hits the ground. This is still a consequence on a desperate action. And so that's going to be, it's probably the level 3 harm cut to ribbons. Because you take the shot on Butte and you hit, like I said, right? Like he's kind of standing there. He hesitates. You don't. You hit him. And then that dog is sailing through the air, right? The hound hits you full force. And it is on top of Des. These big mechanical claws just like slashing, tearing off the gear, through straps, through whatever like light armor Desmond has. You're kind of underneath the weight of it as it is, kind of responding to an attack against its master. And I think maybe that's the moment Rhodes shows up. Does that make sense?
It has to be.
Right? Yeah.
It literally
the camera
has to
lingers.
Be.
Yeah.
So wait,
the beast gores.
I don't think I've ever had a level 3 damage before. What does that need help? What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know if we've had one on screen actually. So a level 3 harm here. So a level 1 harm gives you less effect on things that are kind of affected by the roll. A level 2 harm gives you -1 dice on anything that would be affected by that roll. But while you are suffering a level 3 harm here, you need help. So what a level 3 harm means here is that the pilot cannot act without pushing themselves or receiving assistance. You are pretty close to incapacitated here. I will say you could resist this.
At the cost of stress.
At the cost of stress. So you would take 6 stress minus the highest result. This would be probably a prowess resist. You would be getting -1 dice to this resistance roll. So it would be 2d6, and you would take 6 stress minus the highest result. Anything more than a 1 is going to give you a scar here.
And I won't be able to play for the rest of the session.
For the rest of the scene.
For the rest of the scene, okay.
Yeah, I think we'll still get your resolution with Butte, assuming you don't die here.
Okay.
Right? I don't want to
okay, I was about to say I can't act to spend my drive clock.
I would say you can still spend
I still can spend my drive. That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah. I'd say, yeah, because we're there. But I think this thing will have to be dealt with probably before that happens. But if you do resist, I would take the harm down to the level 1 harm of just slashed, right? As you're able to kind of maneuver under it maybe and kind of avoid the worst of its blows at first. You're kind of trying to roll around them as it's striking at you.
Okay.
Do you want to resist it, or do you want to take the level 3
I think I'm
harm?
going to resist it.
Yeah, right. What's the worst that happens?
Yeah, that's true.
If I get a scar, I get a scar.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
We haven't gotten one of those yet either, so that's kind of fun. So go ahead and give me 2d6, and then you're going to take 6 minus the highest result of that. Need a 5 or a 6 here, I think.
Whoa. Snake eyes.
All right, those are 2 1s. So you are going to take 5 stress, which is actually going to just completely... You're going to be clear on stress. You will not need to cut loose next time.
It's one of the upsides.
But you do still take the level 1 harm slashed, and you will have a scar.
Ooh, what's it going to be? Oh, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about it. There's a list of them as suggestions, and we'll talk more about what scars mean. Probably at downtime. Yeah. So you've got a scar now. You got the slashed, and I think you're just getting kind of batted around by this hound, this dog, and that is kind of where we'll leave you, right? Kind of lost in this moment, unable to kind of fight back against it, overwhelmed by it, which is why you are kind of out for the count here for a second.
All right, we're really playing Beam Saber now, boy.
I guess. All right, Rhodes, you're about to show up there.
Where is the researcher? She fled? She in the room?
She has fled.
I'm imagining, coming up to this elevator door, right? Kind of pulling it apart.
Yeah.
And I was hoping she's trying to call the elevator.
She is. Of course she is. Yeah, she's trying to get upstairs, right, to the lift. There's a helipad up there. She's trying to get to the aerial vehicle that they're trying to get out in.
Right. And I think it's doors open. We're both maybe a little surprised to see someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Rhodes kind of, knee jerk, throws a kind of open palm to the face, right? And I want to try to grab her, and kind of, I don't know, a collateral, right? A human shield, not quite a human shield, but leverage. That sounds like maybe struggle to me.
Honestly, she's a civilian. She's not a combatant. I think there's probably not. I don't think you need to roll to
Oh, okay. Then yeah.
Right. I think a blow puts her down probably.
Right.
Right? To be honest, I don't think that she's
just panic. Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Boom, and I think hits the ground. Right.
Oh,
sack of potatoes.
I think maybe just kind
of, maybe not straight out, but down, dazed, not
staggered, right?
Yeah, no condition to fight back, just what?
Right. Oh, you're not leaving just yet, are you? And I think would kind of turn her around and start kind of walking, firm hand on the shoulder back the direction she came, and I'm gonna head into this room.
And as you approach the doorway, right, there's maybe the suppressor has just melted at this point, right? You've been firing so many times so rapidly. We get the shot the suppressor literally melting apart, and you hear the unsuppressed blast of a shotgun, and then a screech of metal as this hound tears forward and leaps upon Des. And so I think
Ouch.
And yeah, you arrive in the doorway as this dog has like leapt on Des. This giant hulking like four-legged metallic drone creature is like gouging like furrows in the steel floor next to Dez's head as Dez is kind of rolling under it, trying to kind of he's I think like rolling right, like kind of like he's so close and under it that it's having trouble actually getting right at him. This is when it's advantageous to be a little guy.
I think kind of taking a second, like immediately processing this would be like, to this smock wearing scientist to turn it off, put it back in it, get him away, get that thing away from him.
I think like looking at you, like, and there's like a moment you can see in her eyes of like, could I get it to turn on him instead? And actually, I feel like I think this is the role here, right? Is like, you see that like kind of thought start to cross her eyes as she starts to open, like it gets ready to open her mouth. This is a roll, I think.
Yeah. I think Rhodes draws like the pistol on his hip. Yep. And I think is like reaching for it on the belt. This is get it away from him right now, or you're next.
It sounds kind of like a command to me.
It does, doesn't it?
Probably risky, but with the pistol, great effect. I think you have like a lot of leverage here.
I have 1d6, so I'm just gonna roll it. I can't really afford the push. That's two to push, right?
2 to push. Yeah. I think, or I could give you like a devil's bargain here.
I'll hear it.
A devil's bargain in this case is probably, I'm going to give you like and this is like not I'm going to use a system you don't always like interface with a ton, but it's going to be -2 more trust with the Commonwealth, which after this mission is probably going to end up putting you at like a -2 in your relationship with them, which is a way of saying that you're going to be a higher priority target going forward after this mission because of this, right?
Good.
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right, I'm going to take those 2 trust away. Right, like, yeah, you are becoming quickly like an actual thorn in the side of the Commonwealth and no longer just like one of the many kind of like forces on the field.
Okay, here's 2d6. Oh, that's a 6.
That's a 6, baby.
You see the thought cross her mind, right? What if I set attack? What if I turn the dog on him? Could it get here faster than he could shoot me? And the answer to it in her mind is no. So she opens her mouth, pauses a beat, and then says, "Halt." And, instantly reacting to, her voice and recognizing her as one of its commands, it stops slashing at Dez. It backs up like 2 feet, right? And then it sits back on its haunches and with its front legs placed in front of it, kind of like rising up like just like a good dog in like the waiting for command position.
Tail wagging.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It is, and it's got this long, hooked, curved blade at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna rush to. Actually, I think like gun still drawn would I think just gesture to her towards the kennel, like go in there.
And she kind of like trudges in, defeated, and like look. But I guess she pointed. She looks at you and she's like, "This facility is going to come down soon. We need to get out of here." And as if to like underscore her statement, there is like a shudder that shakes the whole room. And I think we get like a cut down for a moment here of Carta. Your elevator has hit the bottom floor, and as the doors open, the lights flicker and everything shakes around you.
I think should we try to save her?
We could take her with us.
I mean, it feels like with the right kind of authority that you have just shown, it might be a pretty easy to just be like, come with me if you want to live. For lack of like.
Okay, well, as long as she I think would just say I know, and I'm like it just kind of surveying the room here. Dez is down, Brute is down.
Yeah, they're both down on the ground, bloodied. Butte is like on the far side of the room. His revolver lays a few feet away from him, like knocked out of his hands by the force of the blast that he took. He is breathing shallowly. I think he is not dead. He has been wounded, but is still very much alive at this moment. And yeah, Dez, similarly covered in shallow cuts and scrapes, but has largely avoided any like real serious wounding by the dog.
Okay.
Yeah, the shudder ends, and that is the scene before you.
I think would like immediately check on Des, right? Like, who is not like kind of maybe unconscious right now, or is like
No,
semi-conscious or something.
I'm like totally. I'm just I'm hurt, but I'm not unconscious.
Yeah, because Des,
A little banged up, but
you're dazed. I think,
dazed,
Des, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it'd be like kind of, Des, you all right? Des, can you hear me? Like kind of shaking your head back and forth or something, and you can probably see your eyes kind of like lolling around,
Yeah.
but maybe you're okay. And I think would make sure you're stable, and then I want to walk over to, it's me, buddy. Wasn't going to leave you up here.
Oh, we need to get out of here.
We do need to get out of here, but we're not done yet.
No, we're not.
Rhodes would kind of like walk over to where Halloran is on the ground.
A little cough. And he looks up at you, Rhodes, and remember you?
I think kicks a gun further away. Right? So I was looking forward to softening you up a bit first, but it looks like Des got to you.
He laughs, right? A little bit of blood, probably. Yeah, I reckon he did. And then he like kind of like tries to look over and past you a little, see Desmond, right? See where Des is at.
I think Rhodes has like a moment here where like drawing the pistol, I think like holding it kind of above him, right? Of like, I should kill you, but it's not my place.
Des steps over and I push the gun away.
Desmond, I know what you're thinking right now, but maybe there's another way. Look at him. Is this what you had in mind?
Take the woman and go to the elevator. We can escape through the top.
What if he comes with us? We need all the friends we can get. Can't you count this square?
I think you should leave now. I don't think you want to see what's about to happen.
I don't think you're in any shape.
I take a knife out.
I take a knife out too. We just practiced this. Don't. You gonna go skulk off again? I'm not rescuing you a second time.
I'm gonna be right out. Just give me a moment.
No. We're in it together.
All right. I drive the knife into Brute's forehead.
Not like that.
Well, I do it.
I think Rhodes just looks away.
Yeah, I think the camera cuts here too. You spending your 2 drive clocks here?
Yep.
Yeah. The camera cuts, but we don't. And maybe the next shot we get is the 3 of you walking out of the building.
Well, I think before I do it, I kind of look at Butte. Does he say anything?
Right. Like you've got the knife you're about to.
Mm-hmm.
He just looks up at you. Say hi to Salvation for me.
I loved you. You know that?
He looks up at you, and it's like a real soul-searching gaze. Love you too, brother. And then his hand at his side starts to pull the Bowie knife from his hip, right?
Yeah.
He starts to draw his own blade.
Yeah, and I just drive it into his forehead.
And then, we get the 3 of you, I think, somberly coming out of the building. And Carta, we watch these 3, Des injured, struggling, getting towards the elevator. Downstairs, it's a grisly scene as well. You've used this elevator as a dumping ground for your enemies.
See some broken limbs and scattered pieces.
But the Mercuria is down there, and there are also, a handful of like these vehicles. Bitter's got the keys. He knows how to open the vehicle case. You kind of got your choice for escape here.
Right. I guess, is the Mercuria something that Carta could pilot if he needed to?
I think so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I assume Des has given you like the thing you need to get out of there, right?
I think that is the, gun still pointed at Bitter and Shellspade. You to Shellspade with me. You take this car. You will lead us out. We will follow you. And if anything goes wrong, know that this thing fires an awfully big bullet.
Roger that, fella. And he salutes you. And starts up this like a little 6-wheeled truck, right? Like a little cargo truck. And I think this is just interspersed, right, with cuts of Desmond, Rhodes, and the kind of like similarly dazed Rin Hynot, right, taking the personnel elevator upstairs. Taking the freight elevator upstairs, as you are, following, and the Mercuria following Bitter to like the blast doors down there. And he's punching a code in from his console. The blast doors open. There's another rumble. There's loose scree kind of falling from the walls around you. Rhodes, Desmond, freight elevator brings you up to it's a long ride and it's shaking. There's like kind of a question of like, are we going to get here in time? But as you finally like reach the limits of the elevator, it stops, and you are kind of in another kind of chamber, except that you can see the night sky. It has an open roof above it, and there is 2 platforms. One has an armor on it, this 4-legged armor, this kind of quadruped that has like this big bulky torso, and then just 2 massive kind of cannons on its shoulders. I think no limbs. Just this is a massive kind of walking artillery piece, and it has been shut down. And on the landing pad next to it, I imagine there is like a kind of 4-rotored, like aerial kind of vehicle. It's got like bay doors, open on the sides like a helicopter does. And there is a middle-aged human man, I think an eye patch, kind of heavily scarred, who is in the pilot's seat of this vehicle, who is like punching codes and who has like the doors open, and he's clearly like looking at the elevator like worriedly and like hurriedly. You heard this name earlier. This is Zed. This is the pilot of the Arbalest, who is now flicking on everything on this aerial escape vehicle, trying to get it ready to go. And his eyes widen in shock as he sees someone he expects, and then 2 people he very much does not expect. But also, I don't, yeah, right. He's there. I think we're kind of in the narrative mode here. I don't know that this has to be a role, but I am curious, like what, you see him there, and it's like, shock on his face. What do you 2 do? I mean, rather, what does Rhodes do? I think Des, right, is both emotionally and physically in like a kind of a situation of shock right now.
Zed is surprised to see us, I guess. So...
Oh, well, yeah, like right, like sees Rin, has the moment of like, okay, and then like kind of clocks the 2 people with her are not the kind of people that he's expecting to see.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's kind of just like a dull, like a shock spreading across this, just confusion. You see him start to like reach down below the window where you can see.
I think just walking in, like in this moment of shock.
Yeah.
Right. Of like, what's your question? In or out? You've got about 3 seconds.
He looks to Rin. She just gives like she's pale, right? Like, it just gives like an intense, enthusiastic nod. And then Zed just,
take us up then.
Get in while the getting's good. Yeah, another shake. I think the platform that the Arbalest is on, one of its supports buckles, and the armor starts to slide like towards the ground.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I think just like take us out then, right? Like it's the doors on this thing slide shut, and I imagine we see the kind of double doors of the like peak hangar open here into the basin outside, and I'm imagining this thing like kind of like taking off pretty abruptly as we come into, I assume, kind of daylight now.
Yeah, the early hours of the morning for sure. Yeah,
Fortunate Son is
and
playing.
I think, I'm like gonna set Des down in like one of the seats there, and I guess kind of walk up to the bay window here, right, or like the outlooking window, and just like put a hand on Zed's shoulder. Welcome to the ring, then.
And we pull out, right? We get like, the aerial shot of this quadcopter soaring away from the mountain, and below it we can see the dust trail kicked up by this cargo truck as it's racing away, the Mercuria, loping after it. And for sure, the soundtrack does kick in now. We don't hear it, but we start to see here and there in the mountain, it starts to kind of like implode on itself, the mine caving in on itself as these like deeply planted explosives start to bring down the entire installation Indigo.
We cut to Des sitting in the back of the helicopter, and he puts his hand out, and it's like shaking like really bad. But then he sort of clenches his hand into a fist for a moment, and then puts his hand back out, and it's totally still.